Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Market Today, the last 1 hour of wheel as far as trade is concerned on this wonderfully wintry Wednesday afternoon. I am Shail Bhatnagar. I am joining you from Delhi. The markets are in a flip-flop as far as some indices are concerned. After yesterday's fairly decent gains, you have a bit of profit booking coming in on the Nifty, nothing to be worried about. The intraday high was somewhere like 23,270. From then on, a bit of a profit booking, ditto for Nifty Bank. But what is really good is that for the second day running, the broader markets are mildly in the green. So the Nifty small cap and the mid cap 100, which had run up very sharply yesterday, are still in the green, which is a big relief. You also have the Nifty mid cap select and the Nifty 200 and the Nifty 100 indices, all of them being in the green. So essentially it means that yesterday's gains are now getting built up onto, and across the board when you see broader stocks which are not a part of the Nifty, you see a very strong move coming in. I'll give you the best indication that I have, that in the most active traded NSE 500 list, out of the first 25 stocks in terms of volume, there are 22 that are in gains. So that is how you see the broader breadth of the market, where you try and gauge out what traders are thinking and why are they taking positions on the long side. And it's led by the highest beta segment, the Adani group. So Adani Par is the top traded counter today, 1.3% higher. About 1947 crores worth of transactions have been traded. BSE, a very strong upgrade coming in from one of the brokers, 6% higher, 5767, 1750 crores worth of transactions that have taken place, and in decreasing order, Adani Green, Zomato, Idea. So the top 5 stocks in terms of volumes are in the green. Bit of profit booking in Axis Bank and a lot of profit booking in Kalyani Jewellers, followed by another EMS space, Keynes, Dixon, Reliance, Trent, Maruti, Persistent, Industars, all of them are in the green. So the broader thread that is coming into the market is of gains, and that is something that needs to be taken hard from. Will it continue tomorrow when we have the weekly expiry of the Nifty? Only time will tell. But after 7 days of fall before yesterday, now 2 days of fairly decent gains. Let's get some market view in. We are joined by Mr. Sharad Avasthi, Head of Research for the Private Client Group at Smith's Securities. Namaste Sharadji, a very warm welcome to you again. How do you see sentiment on Dalal Street? These 2 days of modest gains, do they give you some hope that the worst is behind us at a time when the Nifty is at a 6-month low?
Yeah, I think, as you know, Shailji, thank you for having me on the show. I usually feast on such times when markets have come down and giving me opportunity to buy at better
Yes.
margin of safety. So I think, yeah, this is a good opportunity to get into. I think what we have corrected 10-11% from the top. Uh, Maximum, maybe you can have an intraday dip of 2-3% more. But I think this is a good opportunity to buy. You're getting things at very mouth-watering levels. I think buying from here, many large caps could offer you 30-35% returns. Mid cap, small caps, selective names could even get you better returns. So I think there are a lot of opportunities that are opening up. On the macro side, I think inflation and interest rates, the biggest headwinds, they should become favorable over the next 3 to 6 months. And I think Trump coming on the seat and the budget this time around, I think these two things could be very big triggers for the domestic markets. And quarterly numbers should also surprise on the upside. I think the expectation is very low right now. So to disappoint on these low expectations would be very hard for the quarterly numbers. So in all, I think the macro and the micro, all things combined, should do very well for markets over the next 3 to 6 months.
Right. Sharadji, we are also at the cusp of 2 major events. President-elect Mr. Donald Trump takes charge on Jan 20th, and just 10 sessions later, we have our annual budget against the backdrop of very few good quarterly results. One, what do you make of the budget, which is now about 12 sessions away? And two, how do you see this threat of the impending tariff war impacting India, its markets, and its economies?
Firstly, the budget this time around I expect to be a very happening kind of event. We have been writing it's a non-event for, I don't know, at least the last 4 5 years. I've continuously been writing that it's a non-event, nothing to do, nothing to watch, and even after the budget, we had nothing basically. But this time around, I think there is a lot of fillip to consumption. Some focus obviously will remain on capex, etc. And I think even GST rationalization, etc., on a number of important goods, I think that is something we could look at. So I think this is a budget where we will have to do a lot of work. We will have a lot of anxiety, and a lot of movers and shakers will be created out of it. So I think this time around, maybe after a hat, so 4 5 years, you will have a budget which might excite markets on everything, right from tax rates to consumption drive, uh, to a capex driven story, and add to that some GST rationalization on some goods, maybe something on the inverted duty structure also. So I think all in all, I'm expecting a very exciting budget. So that should lead to very exciting times for equity markets as well. And I think beyond that, the Trump administration and the overhang of tariffs, I think, yeah, tariffs would come, but I don't think, I think India would be the least impacted. So I think I'm hoping that once Trump comes in and our budget comes in, and we start reversing on the interest rate and inflationary cycle, there is a high probability that the FII exodus that we have been seeing for quite some time now, that will also reverse in the first stage. Maybe the fast moving money comes in, and then the long term money also starts coming in. So I think it will be a very fruitful all around 360-degree kind of recovery for the Indian markets, with most indicators which are headwinds right now turning into tailwinds over the next 2 to 3 months.
Sharaji, what you say is joy to the ears of retail investors who've been having a very torrid fourth month of successive losses on the Nifty. Leave the mid caps and the small caps alone, even if you do that. So, now I'd like to drill down in your thought a little further. When you say increase consumption, do you mean that some money would be given in the hands of the middle class? It's been in pain. Do you see tax cuts on the income tax, personal tax front? How do you drill down to what you are trying to achieve?
Yeah, I think tax cuts is the most relevant way to look at it. If you look at the data, personal income taxes are higher, though we are still a very nascent number in terms of the total taxpayer base. But I think that if you want to enlarge the taxpayer base, that is something that needs to be looked at. If you look at US, I think largely the major changes have happened there in terms of economic growth and prosperity. When you want to include the masses, it was when they increased the low bottom of the pyramid wages. So I think India could even look at doing something over there, because if you look at income inequality, that's a problem that has been growing leaps and bounds for quite some time now. So the bottom of the pyramid has to be addressed well. That is something the government should look at. And if the US is any example to go by, I think that is a big movement that could really transform India to move to the next level where we plan to, more than double our per capita GDP over the next 3 to 5 years. So without that bottom of the pyramid participating, you cannot do that. And the last time around, corporate taxes were cut post COVID, but the trickle down theory hasn't really worked because consumption did not receive a boost, and without consumption, the animal spirits were not relieved in the corporate world also. So most of the money went into debt repayment. So corporates are stronger. I think there is a high probability that the middle class or the mass basically, the taxpayer, individual taxpayer, gets some relief this time around to spur consumption. I think that would that would go a long way in spurring consumption, and that would in turn, realign the animal spirits in the capex side of the private companies.
Okay, that's the macro top-down view from Sharath Bhai. He's basically looking at tax cuts, he's looking at income tax cuts, and of course a realignment on the GST space as well. Sharadji, it essentially means that we will also be hunting for good quality stocks in the days ahead. Now, many of them have corrected 25, 30, 35%, some even have halved, others are on their way. In your valuation matrix, which is more towards margin of safety, could you please discuss some stocks and sectors where you feel value is to be had at current prices, or maybe it's just approaching?
I think banking and the small finance bank is one space which I think should do very well. The valuations are very attractive across the board. If you look at most of the small finance banks, they are trading at what, zero point 0.7, zero point 0.8 times. And if you want to do it through a larger bank, I think IndusInd Bank becomes one of the best choices because there the price to book multiples have collapsed because of the microfinance and MSME exposure. But I think it's a bit overdone. And once the cycle reverses, maybe over the next 3 to 6 months, so IndusInd Bank would be a great idea for around 1500 kind of targets. And a blanket, I think, as a blanket, the whole small finance bank and the smaller banks, as well as some frontline banks where we have seen a decent correction, like maybe an IndusInd Bank and a Bandhan. These could be very decent ideas. And on the other sector, I think cement could be one surprise sector you could look at. I think the valuations there are attractive. They've corrected substantially. So maybe the frontline names do not give you a margin of safety, whether it's a Shree Cement or an Ultratech. But if you play it through, this the last one maybe on the larger players is Dalmia Bharat. So I think that's an excellent bet at these valuations. Among the smaller players, maybe a JK Lakshmi is a very good bet for around 1100, 1150 kind of targets, even if it trades at 110 kind of EV per ton. So I think these are 4 or 5 ideas that I'm looking at. And beyond this, I think there are a number of spaces that we are looking at, but it's not across sectors, but individual stocks. I think Varroc looks like a very good story. And as a theme, I think if the decarbonization theme plays out as we are expecting it to, HEG graphite could be very good stories to hold on to over the next, 18 to 24 months. The valuations are very attractive. I think both of them are trading at what, 9, 10 times. Just normalizing the valuation, I think they would trade at 15, 16 times. And decarbonization would mean more electric arc furnaces, more demand on that side. So I think graphite electrode demand would be steady. The raw material side has been pushing them down, so that would also improve. So I think these are 5, 6 ideas that could do very well over the next, 1, 1.5 year.
Fair point. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, Sharat ji hunts for the longer term. Please keep an eye out on stocks such as Dalmia Bharat, JK Lakshmi Cement, as also IndusInd Bank, Bandhan Bank, and Varroc Engineering. This is an auto ancillary. You will not believe it, but it's still trading below its IPO price, as also HEG and Graphite. So these are the 7 shares that Sharat ji has suggested. In any case, please also seek advice from an independent financial advisor should you want to buy them. And as always, it's always good to buy via the SIP format. So that's in terms of making a nice mid to small cap portfolio. Sharat, I just wanted to understand this granularity of the market that you are seeing over the last 2 days. 3 sets of stocks, both of them high beta and erstwhile favorites. The entire Adani group is ablaze. You have the PSU banks knocking up very strong gains, at least yesterday, and some parts of defense is clicking. In your overall structure of this correction, where Nifty is down 12%, many indices have shed 20-22%, are we sort of done with the correction? 1 or 2% is fine, but is the pain over?
Yeah, I think the major part of the pain is over. I mean, if we're talking about the Adani stocks, if you look at the whole Adani group, I think if you look at the valuations over the last 5, 6 years, you would not have 5, 6 years, yeah, 3, 4 years, 5, 6 years, barring the dip during COVID, you would not have got them at these valuations. If you look at after the post-COVID recovery, the first stage, I don't think you ever got these stocks at these valuations. And some of them have very good long-term potential in terms of growth, etc. I think there, even if normal valuations do return and there is no, again, fear of some other report or some thing coming in, I think there is a high probability that you could make a lot of money. And these are high beta stories. So obviously you adjust according to your risk. On the PSU bank side, I certainly think that they need to perform now to prove further, which I have been advocating for quite some time. But at this valuation, if you look at a UCO Bank, a Union Bank, I think they are trading at about zero point 0.8, zero point 0.9 times, zero point 0.7 times price to book. So I think they have become attractive now, where they were trading at somewhere around 1.3, 1.4 times price to book. Uh, and the improvement visible was not that much over the next 18 to 24 months. But right now, I think they've become over pessimistic. So some bit of value buying can come into these stocks at zero point 0.7, zero point 0.8 times. So I think it's a good story to. These are good stories to hold on, particularly. But within banks, you have to be very specific, not to get into banks which have a high NPA level. So I think that will be a problem zone. But other than that, I think if you are getting something which does not have a very high net NPA number right now, it is usually if it's less than 1%, and you are getting the bank at 0.7, 0.8 times price to book, I think the margin of safety is pretty high. So, okay, I recently looked at Union Bank and UCO Bank. They look like decent bets at these valuations. So I don't see there is a lot of risk. And even the Adani group, I think many stocks within the group have very good long-term potential. Might not be, 1 year or 18 months. They might not do much magic. But long term, I think certainly they have a lot of potential to go up because the type of scale they are trying to achieve is phenomenal in terms of the current capacities that they have. So once that starts contributing, if you have a 3 to 5 year kind of horizon, I think there are these Adani stocks you can start to create some build up because the valuations are the most attractive they've been in the last 3 4 years.
Sharad, would you care to name a couple of Adani stocks where you see valuations sort of now reaching their long-term averages? Uh,
Sir, across the board, most of them are below, but if you below the long-term averages. But if you ask me, I think for Adani, what you have to do in the scale of operations that they are trying to achieve, you have to discount the future a bit and try to understand what is the present value that it offers. So I think maybe Adani Green is a good bet if you are a risk taker. Adani Enterprises on an SOTP does offer value. There's a mix of all businesses, some new energy, new economy businesses, and I think they can do phenomenally well. They also have a very aggressive capex there also. So I think on an SOTP, even today's valuation, it does offer decent upside. Adani Total Gas has a very aggressive, capacity expansion plan. Maybe it does not happen over the next 18 to 24 months, but yeah, I think that these three are primarily good stories that I'm looking at.
Fair point. So Adani Green Enterprises and Total Gas is something that can also be had for the longer term, actual longer term. वो 10 मिनट वाला नहीं जो आजकल चल रहा है, but 2 years, 3 years. Sharad ji, I'm telling you, definitions have changed. Long term is 10 minutes, medium term 5. Intraday, 1 minute circuit was namaste. Anyway, so good discussions today. So 7 stocks in the mid cap and the small cap space, plus deep value to be had, or at least emerging value to be had in two PSU banks, Union and UCO, and of course within the erstwhile high beta and high ticket items, which some of them have corrected very sharply. Adani Green, Adani Enterprises, which handles the entire airport space in India, and ATGL is something that Sharadji is looking for. Yesterday's announcement by the government of India on allowing 4 PSUs to raise QIP by to the extent of 2,000 crores, and a small note saying that the government is open for stake sales in PSU banks. How do you see that changing the landscape, Sharadji, of this PSU basket, and what bank, according to you, would be first off the block?
Uh, I think in terms of changing the landscape, it's just that the new set of investor comes in and the government holding, which has been the long-term plan, where they have been saying that the government has no business in business. So I think gradually they are trying to prune it down. But banks being an essential space, I think they'll continue to hold, but they might not be majority in it. So I think yeah, it does get you a new set of investors that come into it, reduces the government holding, and these new set of investors would be more dynamic and more proactive in terms of questioning the banks and improving their standards. So I think that is something that would play out in terms of first movers. I think anyone who gets the approval, I think the whole list they will all try to come in on time, and I think the whole proposal system or the uh, process is very smoothened right now. So it's very difficult to put a finger on who's going to come out first. But I think all of them will try to come in and create that buffer because I think the long term trajectory is very clear that most banks now would be aggressive on the lending side as well. And if the capex push from the budget, etc., and all picks up, and the type of long term growth rates that we are projecting for the country, I think most PSU banks will have to play a very major role, particularly in tier 2, tier 3, semi-urban and rural areas. And PSU banks will have to take the front seat there because private positioning will not be very strong. So I think it will essential for them to just capitalize their balance sheets, increase their positions better. So most of them would create a run up in terms of, I think, capital adequacy, etc. Most of them are at comfortable levels, so I don't see any of them rushing in to do it. But these are valuations at which most probably they'll not find it very difficult to get investors also. Maybe 6 months ago or a year ago, it would have been difficult. So I would not take a call on who would come up first or later, but I think largely most of them would come in to get these fresh investors in and raise some capital so that they're better prepared for the long haul.
Okay. Sharadji, you are a very picky chooser as far as stocks are concerned. You don't track or chase momentum, and you only buy deep value. In the last 5 session days, have you been a heavy buyer of stocks for your clients?
Yeah, we have been telling them, but the way the nervousness is, like if you tell someone to buy one stock that we discussed during IPO, I thought I would bring it up, was Tata Tech. So when I told you that we'll buy it at 850, 900, you were laughing that will we get it? Will we ever get Tata Tech at 850, 900? So now when I tell people to buy it at 800, they're not willing to buy it. But everyone was very bullish on the prospects of Tata Tech at 1100, 1200. Everyone wanted to buy Tata Tech. So now it's hard to get people to buy these stories. And usually I'm not the momentum chaser. So when you tell someone, and as you rightly said, all the definitions have gone through a dictionary of their own. So value buying, etc. No one understands. Everyone understands charts so much more. So it's difficult for us to get clients to buy into, especially stocks which have not done anything for 1.5 year. Though we have some people who tend to believe into that theory, who have been holding on to UPL, who bought Voltas from 1200 to 600. We have some people who do that, but across the board, I think to get people convinced into buying, out of momentum stocks is very difficult. Uh, so I think, yeah, we have been telling very aggressively not to exit because there is a lot of panic amongst people because of these, technical levels. Everyone wants to get out. ये level टूट गया, अभी दुनिया खत्म हो जाएगी. So we have been telling कि ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Let's hold on to it. Yeah, occasional corrections are good, 5 to 10%. I think you should not be very unnerved about it. These are good actually. Some excesses or frauds are corrected. So we have been telling people to buy, and as you know, we have been talking about so many stocks now. It's easier for me to give a list of stocks to buy now rather than 6 months ago. So yeah, we have been telling, and some people have been adhering to this advice.
Fair point. Remember, Tata Technologies was offered, I think, at about 500 rupees a share, and it got listed at 1300. That was the peak that we saw on its listing day, and from then on, it's a downhill journey. The mild smile that you see on Sharadji's face is vindication of the fact that for those who buy value, there always comes a time. It might not come immediately, but it does. And patience is often rewarded very well. And possibly you might find value in Tata Technologies at 800 rupees. Even at 800 rupees, if you compare it to its IPO price, it's given a fabulous return. So please also keep that in mind. Also, while we are looking at deep value, there are two stocks that may be in the same zone. I am requesting the PCI to fire TVS Supply Chain Solutions and the mega listing of Bajaj Housing. Who can forget that? But look at the stock price now. This was again one of those most talked about listings 6 months ago, but the stock is now at a low. And these are the three, at least two stocks that you can look at also in terms of long term positioning. Again, take a view from your financial advisor and then get into it. But for those who wait, the markets are generous beyond default. So that's how Tata Technologies comes into the picture. Sharadji, before we bid goodbye for today, what would your estimate be of this change in guard at the US? Uh, are we as a country, as an economy, going to be benefited in the medium term? We also see the rupee amongst the emerging market currencies going for a toss. So, your view on the rupee against the backdrop of what is happening in the US and the US in particular in relation to the Indian economy?
Yeah, I think the rupee going for a toss was a surprise to me, a shock to me as well. I did not expect that to happen, but it's happened across the board. The only silver lining that you can look at is that the rupee did not depreciate as much as some of the other currencies. Maybe if you put the top quartile of currencies that have depreciated the least vis-a-vis the dollar, the rupee would feature there. Though in terms of the speed at which it has happened and the last leg, 83 to 87, which was very unexpected. I think I was not expecting it at all, but it happened in tandem with what has happened globally. So that's been a shocker. But the only silver lining is that it has maybe depreciated less vis-a-vis, 75% of the currencies. But still, the depreciation has been there, and I did not anticipate it correctly. So I've been on the wrong foot there. And from now onwards, what I expect is that the Trump administration would not be very detrimental to India, or the least detrimental, as you rightly as can be said. And I think the focus would be, on the Chinese part of it. I think with the Hamas truce and etc., you can already see, ceasefire etc., that most probably he is going aggressive first to handle the geopolitical issues, which have been one of the major causes of, some inflationary impact across the globe, whether it's fertilizer, whether it's pharma, whether it's transport related, that is container rates etc., and the rerouting of ships etc., leading to higher costs. So I think he's addressing those two three issues if he can, with this geopolitical tensions brimming down, even the Ukraine Russia thing also getting under control. Then it would be a huge positive respite for everyone, including India. And in regards to how detrimental he can be to India, I think the India will not be the focus point. Maybe some tariffs here and there, what they have been discussing. I think liquor is one industry which could maybe see some headwinds, because there is a lot of there has been some talk in the past when he was president, regarding tariffs etc., and realigning of the tariff rates. So I think he will negotiate hard. He's a hard negotiator, but I think we do not have sitting couch potatoes on this side also. So it will be a to and fro game, but India will be least impacted.
Right. Thank you, Sharadji. Have a nice year ahead. And as always, we look forward to your company and to some of the most wonderful suggestions that come from you. The budget is a fortnight away, and we look forward to your participation at our end. Thank you so much for your time, sir. That, ladies and gentlemen, was Sharad Avasthi, the head of research at Smith's Securities for the Private Client Group. The Nifty, ladies and gentlemen, is now 46 points higher. There's a light shade of green across the board as far as markets are concerned. This is the second day of an uptick after 7 successive days of very painful selling, in which you saw at least 25,000 crore rupees being taken out on a net level by FIs, and of course the index on the Nifty level correcting by about 1,000 points. We are now joined by Mr. Raghvendra Singh, who's now with us from Mumbai. नमस्ते राघवेंद्र जी, स्वागत है आपका.
नमस्कार सर.
कुछ फेरबदल होता हुआ सेंटिमेंट में दलाल स्ट्रीट पर, या अभी भी आपको गहरे बादल नजर आते हैं?
सर जी देखिए, ये 2 दिन तो बाजार ने थोड़ा सा मुझे लग रहा है कि एक ब्रीदिंग स्पेस दिया है, बट आप देखिए पीछे जो है स्टॉक्स की बहुत पिटाई हो रही है. तो आप ये समझ लीजिए कि जो है इंडेक्स को तो थोड़ा बहुत अभी नीचे नहीं जाने दे, रोक के रखा हुआ है, बट स्टॉक्स में देखिए आप बहुत बुरी तरीके से, चाहे वो डेरिवेटिव स्टॉक्स हो या मिड कैप स्मॉल कैप स्टॉक्स हो, तो उधर थोड़ी पिटाई हो रही है. वो थोड़ा कंसर्न लग रहा है कि हो सकता है कि आने वाले समय में निफ्टी फिर से एक बार नीचे का जो रास्ता है वो चुनना स्टार्ट कर दे.
अच्छा, तो कहाँ आपको दिक्कत दिख रही है, कौन कौन से शेयर्स में?
देखिए, जो सबसे ज्यादा मुझे दिक्कत दिखाई दे रही है वो एनबीएफसी में और फार्मा स्टॉक्स. और आप देखिए कुछ ऐसे स्टॉक्स हैं जो कि अभी मतलब रिसेंटली आए थे, जैसे कल्याण ज्वेलर्स हो गया, केईआई हो गया, सीजी पावर हो गया. ये सब स्टॉक्स ऐसे हैं कि देखिए इसमें जबरदस्त पिटाई हो रही है. आईटी स्टॉक्स में मैं देख रहा हूँ, आईटी इंडेक्स जो है अगर आप देखिए तो 43,000 के आसपास घूम रहा है और मुझे लग रहा है कि वो शायद अब जहाँ से मेक और ब्रेक लेवल है, तो हो सकता है कि आईटी स्टॉक्स में भी जो है आने वाले समय में थोड़ी सी पिटाई हो सकती है। तो टोटल मुझे लग रहा है कि हैवी वेट्स का सेलिंग का जो है दोबारा से स्टार्ट हो सकता है।
अच्छा चलिए, आपकी बात सराखों पर। फार्मा स्पेस में आज जो आपको दिक्कत दिख रही है लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, दैट्स बिकॉज ऑफ अ मंथली रिपोर्ट दैट हैज़ कम ऑन sales numbers for the month of December. They are mildly disappointing in terms of slowing growth, but it's the cardiac segment that has done intensely well. Let me see if I can rustle up that report. Yes, this is right there in front of me, and this is a wonderful report that has come in from Daulat Capital. Let me just read out something for you. The Indian pharma market recorded a weak growth of 6.5% year on year for December 2024 due to slower growth in therapies like gynecology and anti-infectives, offset by recovery in respiratory paths. IPM growth for Q3 FY25 was 7.4% year on year, while the MAT growth was 7.6%. So that's the reason why you see this very sharp profit booking that's happened on the pharma index today. It's the least performing index, but remember, in calendar 2024, the pharma index was up 33% as the best performing index. So a bit of a profit booking here really doesn't make much of a difference. They will recover. Raghvendra ji, let's get the PCR to fire a chart of Paytm. It's up 4%, and to some extent even Policy Bazaar. Both of these stocks have corrected sharply over the last 10 sessions. What would be your medium term view on both of them?
Shalji, Policy Bazaar, I think the stock has corrected from 2200 to 1750 now.
Yes.
It has taken a strong support at 1700 yesterday and today also. So I think unless until we don't break 1700 level, I don't think any more correction in this stock. Similarly, Paytm 800 is a very strong base. एक बार वो लेवल होल्ड कर रहा है तो आई डोंट थिंक कि वो लेवल ब्रेक करेगा। अगर वो लेवल होल्ड कर रहा है 800 का तो मुझे लगता है यहाँ से रिवर्सल है दोनों स्टॉक्स में।
जी. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you see Policy Bazaar, also look at the fact that less than a week ago, Policy Bazaar was at a record high of 2231. And this record high has been phenomenal. If you look at how Policy Bazaar has moved from last January to today, it's almost more than doubled. The price in February 2024 was, okay, I'll tell you the January 1st price. You will not believe what it was. It was 752. 752 to 2252 is a 3x rise. And that's the reason why you see this profit booking happening. See, we can show it very well on the chart. The 1 year performance is 100%, but if you calculate it from 22,115 and again push it a little to the west, you will see 700 rupees there. Be that as it may, there is a bit of a relief coming in for Policy Bazaar, and it was approaching 200-day DMA in any case. Ditto for Paytm, very strong move that we saw the counter touch 1,000 rupees after many months, was met with the selling pressure. Today 5% higher, but if you see the chart of the last 1 month or so, the stock has corrected from 1,000 to 22, and the same story in May 2024 the price was 323 rupees. So if you are able to buy fear, ladies and gentlemen, yes, see what the lovely chart our PCR has fired. 16th July and somewhere in May, you see the price at 373. From then on, it's given a 3x return. So that's how it is, ladies and gentlemen. Raghvendra ji, what are you seeing on the volume front? Anything that looks good?
Volume is good. Open interest is almost 16% up. So I think there's a buying going on in the Paytm and Policy Bazaar. Apart from that, I think Nifty is little bit shady. I think ये थोड़ा मुझे मुश्किल लग रहा है कि ऊपर जाके sustain कर पाए. Apart from that, अगर आप देखिए तो persistent and LTTS कि दोनों में ओपन इंटरेस्ट बहुत अच्छा है सैल जी। और ये दोनों काउंटर मुझे लगता है शायद रिजल्ट आने वाले हैं, जिसकी वजह से थोड़े से ये दिख रहे हैं कि यहाँ पे बाइंग हो रही है। बाकी बहुत सारे स्टॉक्स ऐसे हैं जो ऊपर जाकर के अभी फिर धीरे धीरे नीचे आ रहे हैं। एक देखिए स्टॉक है जो मैंने अभी चूज किया, मोबीक्विक, ऑलमोस्ट 12% डाउन है। ये एक ऐसा स्टॉक है जो यहाँ से धीरे धीरे अब अक्यूमुलेट करना चाहिए, 450 460 के आसपास है। सो यहाँ पे मुझे थोड़ी सी जो है इंटरेस्टिंग लग रहा है स्टोरी की, यहाँ से बाइंग आ सकता है, क्योंकि वॉल्यूम बहुत ज्यादा नहीं है इसमें नीचे आने में। तो मुझे लग रहा है थोड़ा सा यहाँ से एक पुल बैक आएगा इस स्टॉक में।
चलिए, मोबीक्विक पर भी ध्यान दीजिए। 280 रुपये पे शायद आईपीओ आया था, और लगभग 40-50% ऊपर लिस्टिंग हुई थी। वहाँ से 680 तक का सफ़र ये काउंटर आपको दिखा चुका है पिछले 15 दिनों में, और अब थोड़ी बहुत मुनाफा वसूली होती हुई। इंटरेस्टिंग टाइम्स चल रहे हैं बाज़ार में राघवेंद्र जी। ये जो हम बिकवाली का दौर देख रहे थे अब तक, 7 दिन की गहरी बिकवाली के बाद आपको लगता है 6 महीने के लो पर क्या निफ्टी अब ठीक ठाक स्थिति में है, या यहाँ से भी पिटाई की और संभावना है?
शैल जी देखिए, अगर पता नहीं आपने एफआईआई का डेटा देखा नहीं देखा, लेकिन एक चीज आप गौर कीजिएगा, एफआईआई जो है पीछे से स्टॉक बाई कर रहे हैं। कल का डेटा और आज का डेटा मैं देख रहा था, इंडेक्स को तो बेचा है उन्होंने, लेकिन वो कहीं ना कहीं डेरिवेटिव जो 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 स्टॉक्स है ना, वो स्टॉक बाई कर रहे हैं, कैश में बेच रहे हैं, इंडेक्स बेच रहे हैं, लेकिन फ्यूचर बाई कर रहे हैं। ओवरऑल कल का डेटा करीब देखा जाए तो करीब 26,000 करोड़ का उन्होंने ऑप्शन बाई किया था। नेट डेटा जो है डेरिवेटिव का बाइंग में है। तो मेरे हिसाब से अब निफ्टी कहीं ना कहीं यहाँ पे आगे बेस बना रहा है। तो मुझे लग रहा है कि 23,000 और 23,200 निफ्टी एक बॉटम आउट होना चाहिए, ये मुझे सिग्नल दिख रहा है। अभी मैं 1-2 दिन और बाजार देखूंगा कि यहाँ से रिवर्सल कितनी अच्छी से आता है। तो मेरे हिसाब से बेचने का अभी ये बाजार बिल्कुल नहीं है। अब यहाँ से डेफिनेटली अब थोड़ा थोड़ा करके स्टॉक जो है बाई करना चाहिए, क्योंकि अब शायद हो सकता है कि जो हमारा यूएसडी आईएनआर इतना डिप्रिशिएट हुआ था, तो शायद अब यहाँ से थोड़ा सा रिकवरी आए और एफआई की जो सेलिंग है वो थोड़ी बंद हो जाए।
चलिए, मैं ऐसा करता हूँ, एक घी और शक्कर की जो इमेज है वो डाउनलोड करता हूँ, और वो हम राघवेंद्र जी को डिजिटली ही भेज देंगे, क्योंकि जैसे कि मेरी सेहत है और उनकी सेहत है, हम सिर्फ देख के ही खुश हो जाते हैं, बल्कि हमें देख के ही खुश हो जाना चाहिए, खाना पीना कम करना चाहिए। तो ये मैं आपको भेज रहा हूँ राघवेंद्र जी, जो हमारे पास एक इमेज आई है पीसीआर के थ्रू, जो आपको भेजें, और आपका धन्यवाद व्यक्त करें क्योंकि आपने इतनी बढ़िया बात बोली है। तो ये आपको भी थोड़ी देर में पीसीआर की तरफ से आता हुआ दिखेगा।
बहुत जल्दी हम लोग साथ में मिलके खाएंगे सर।
आइए, मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, कड़ाके की ठंड दिल्ली में पड़ी हुई है, और आइए आइए, आपका बहुत बढ़िया, हम लोग आपको लंच पे लेके चलेंगे, साक्षी और मैं, छोले भटूरे खिलाएंगे, और कुछ आपको खाने की इच्छा हो तो उस पर भी बात करेंगे। लेकिन एक जो बैकग्राउंड मैं आपको देना चाहता हूँ, जो कि राघवेंद्र जी ने कहा कि शायद हम लोग एक ऐसे जोन में हैं जहाँ पर अब निफ्टी पे बेस बिल्डिंग होगी। ध्यान दीजिए, कल वीकली एक्सपायरी है निफ्टी की, और हम बिल्कुल मध्यम में खड़े हैं महीने के। 15 तारीख आज है। हमारे सामने दो बहुत मेन इवेंट्स हैं। श्री डोनाल्ड ट्रंप साहब की ताजपोशी, जो कि 20 जनवरी को होगी, और फिर हमारा एनुअल बजट। इससे पहले 2-3 सेक्टर्स चहकने लगे हैं तेज़ी में। सारा अदानी ग्रुप, जो कि एक बहुत हाई बीटा और लो टिकट आइटम माना जाता है, साथ ही साथ कुछ पीएसयू सेगमेंट्स और डिफेंस काउंटर्स। आज की तेज़ी जो कि ब्रॉडर मार्केट्स में ज़्यादा है, निफ्टी पर कम है, ये भी दर्शाती है कि रिस्क ऑन ट्रेड वापस आता हुआ दिख रहा है। आज का टॉप ट्रेडेड काउंटर अदानी पावर है, सेकंड टॉप ट्रेडेड काउंटर बीएसई है। तो बाजार कुछ कहता है, उसको सुनने की शक्ति और क्षमता हमारे में होनी चाहिए, इसीलिए हम लोग राघवेंद्र जी की मदद लेते हैं। अदानी पावर क्या कहता है ये शेयर आपको?
चलिए देखिए, कल परसों 2 दिन में बहुत ही शानदार जो है इसमें तेजी हुई है, और आज भी तेजी बनी हुई है, और सबसे बड़ी बात वॉल्यूम बहुत अच्छा है। मुझे लगता है 450 से ये स्टॉक ने रिवर्सल लिया है और 550 आ गया 2 दिन के अंदर। अब मुझे लग रहा है स्टॉक में यहाँ से तेजी और बनी रह सकती है, क्योंकि वॉल्यूम बहुत बढ़िया, अपॉर्चुनिटी बहुत अच्छी है। 750-800 तक ये स्टॉक गया था, वहां से 450 आया, अब यहाँ 550, अब यहाँ से मुझे लगता है 650 की जो रैली स्टार्ट होगी। बिल्कुल बाई करके होल्ड कीजिए।
चलिए ठीक है, ये रहा अदानी पावर पे आ रही है। और अगर आप 2 दिन का चार्ट देखें तो कल इसमें 15-17% की तेज़ी थी, सुबह धमाके के साथ उठा और 572 के आसपास गया। साथ ही साथ इसी तरीके की तेज़ी या कुछ इससे कम आप देख रहे हैं अदानी ग्रीन, अदानी टोटल और अदानी एंटरप्राइजेज में भी कुछ हद तक। ये स्टॉक आपको मल्टी मंथ लोज से अब रिवर्स होते हुए दिख रहे हैं और बहुत ही डीप करेक्शन के बाद, मतलब आप अदानी एंटरप्राइजेस का अगर प्राइस याद करें तो शायद चलिए ये मैं आपको बताता हूँ, बहुत दिनों बाद ये शेयर आया है मेरे सामने भी। अदानी एंटरप्राइजेस का ऑल टाइम हाई आपको अभी स्क्रीन पर दिखेगा 3645। क्या इसके ऊपर भी गया है? जी हाँ, 3645, 3700 ये गया था 4 जून को। अदानी पावर का ऑल टाइम हाई शायद मेरे को याद है 800 के पार था, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग। जी हाँ, 890।
यस,
890 से ये आ गया था वापस करीब 440, 50% प्राइस करेक्शन। तो ये एक ब्रूटल सबक बाजार कभी कभी सिखाता है मोमेंटम चेजर्स को। चलिए राघवेंद्र जी, और क्या नजर आ रहा है बाजार में? 314।
देखिए शैल जी, अभी तो मुझे लग रहा है कि एचडीएफसी बैंक पे नजर रहेगी, अगले हफ्ते रिजल्ट है। तो एचडीएफसी बैंक ऑलरेडी जो है 1800 रुपए से 1650 आ गया, और इन लोगों ने इस क्वार्टर में ऑलरेडी ये डिक्लेयर कर दिया कि बहुत अच्छी ग्रोथ होने वाली नहीं है। तो मुझे लगता है कि एचडीएफसी बैंक है जो थोड़ा सा हो सकता है कि एक रिवर्सल ले ले यहाँ से, बाई ऑन बैड न्यूज सेल ऑन गुड न्यूज। तो मुझे लगता है कि बैड न्यूज अब सारे एचडीएफसी बैंक के लिए खत्म हो गए। अब रिजल्ट में मुझे लगता है थोड़ा सा भी अगर खराबी भी रही तो रिजल्ट डाइजेस्टेड होगा, वो मुझे लगता है स्टॉक बॉटम बनाएगा उस दिन, फिर वहां से रिवर्सल लेंगे। मुझे लग रहा है यही एक स्टॉक है जो यहाँ जा सकता है। स्विगी मुझे लग रहा है कि वो एक स्टॉक है जो अच्छा खासा ब्रेकआउट दिया स्विगी एंड जोमेटो ने निचले स्तरों से। तो जोमेटो भी मुझे लगता है कि 245 रुपए के ऊपर अगर क्रॉस करता है तो ये करीब 270-280 जा सकता है। एंड स्विगी जो है ये अगर 570 के ऊपर अगर आज क्लोजिंग मिलती है तो मुझे लगता है कि 500, 520, 530 जाएगा, 470 के ऊपर अगर क्लोजिंग मिलती है तो।
ओके जी, चलिए स्विगी पर भी आपको एक अच्छा मूव आता हुआ दिख सकता है। साथ ही साथ ऐसा करते हैं राघवेंद्र जी, जोमेटो पर भी बात कर लेते हैं, कहीं ऐसा ना हो जोमेटो वाले बुरा मान जाएं। मेरा मतलब था
बिल्कुल
निवेशक।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। शैल जी देखिए, जोमेटो ने भी अच्छा खासा वॉल्यूम के साथ और ओपन इंटरेस्ट बिल्टअप किया है, तो मुझे लगता है कि जोमेटो भी आज ऊपर है, लेकिन अगर कल 245 के ऊपर बंद होता है तो 270 तक का टारगेट है। अगर 245 ऊपर नहीं जा पाता है तो मुझे लगता है कि एक बार 230, 235 आ सकता है।
अच्छा चलिए 230, 235 ध्यान दीजिए। हमारे पीसीआर आपको एक बहुत शानदार चार्ट दिखाएंगे, इसको भी लंबी अवधि में आपको दिखाते हैं। 80 रुपए से एक टक ये काउंटर 300 रुपए तक गया और आप देखिएगा, आहा चलिए एक साल में 127 से 300 तो इसने देखा ही देखा, तो डबलिंग तो यहीं हो गई, बल्कि डबलिंग से ज़्यादा हो गया। ठीक है, और थोड़े पीछे जाएंगे तो 80 रुपए से चाल आई थी, ये मेरे को पक्का पता है। देखिए 2 साल में काउंटर आपको 4 गुना पैसे देके गया। 16 जनवरी 23 को 45 रुपए था, चलो 50 मान लीजिए। तो मैं यही कह रहा हूँ, बार बार आपको हम लोग लंबी अवधि के चार्ट इसलिए दिखाते हैं कि एक तो आप इस बात पर अडिग रहिए कि बाजार में अच्छे पैसे बनते हैं उन्हीं लोगों के जो थोड़े पेशेंट होते हैं और अच्छे काउंटर को परेशानी में खरीदने की हिम्मत रखते हैं। पीबी फिनटेक, पेटीएम, जोमेटो, ये सन 2024 के सबसे बड़े वेल्थ क्रिएटर्स हैं और इनका शुमार सबके सामने हुआ है। ये कोई ऐसे छुपे हुए स्टॉक नहीं थे जो एनएससी की किसी छोटे से सेक्टर के गर्भ में छुपे हुए हों, इन सबको सब जानते हैं। तो सामने ही वेल्थ बनती है, प्रोवाइडेड कि आप लंबी अवधि तक रखें। 318 मैं ज़रा कुछ स्टॉक प्राइसेस पढ़ता हूँ आपके सामने। आज आईटी इंडेक्स जो है वो आउट परफॉर्मर है और यहाँ पर आप एक बहुत बढ़िया मोमेंटम तो नहीं, लेकिन फिर भी एक अच्छा गहरा हरा निशान आते हुए देख रहे हैं। न्यूजेन सॉफ्टवेयर 11% ऊपर 1766। Elecon Engineering 11% higher, 631. Anantraj Industries 8% higher. I am purposely reading gainers from different sectors so that you can see how wide this buying is now happening. 361 Wealth Management 6% higher, 1193. Angel One, Engineers India, Paytm up between 4 and 6%. The list is endless in terms of smart gainers. Are there any volume buzzers? Yes. Wellspun Living. ये चार्ट राघवेंद्र जी अगर आप देख पाएँ, ये एक बहुत ही जानी मानी टेक्सटाइल कंपनी है जो बहुत ही शांत रूप से काम कर रही है कुछ समय से, लेकिन अब काफ़ी गिरावट के बाद है जी एक हरा निशान। मैं बात इसलिए कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि इसकी वॉल्यूम 14 गुना ज़्यादा है 5 दिन के एवरेज से। आज 2 करोड़ शेयर ट्रेड हुए हैं। क्वालिटी स्टॉक जहाँ तक कि वैल्यूएशन मैट्रिक्स का सवाल है, लेकिन अच्छा मूव। राघवेंद्र जी अब क्या?
सर जी देखिए, अगर देखा जाए टेक्निकली चार्ट पे तो इसने हेड एंड शोल्डर का एक बनाया हुआ पैटर्न, नीचे बुलिश एंगल्फिंग बनाया है और अभी ये बीच में गैप है आज और कल में, तो मुझे लगता है एक बार गैप भरने के लिए नीचे जा सकता है 142 तक। वो एक लेवल ऐसा होगा जहां से बिल्कुल बाई करना चाहिए। 140 142 ये एक लेवल है जो डेफिनेटली आपको बाई करना चाहिए एंड होल्ड इट। इसमें टारगेट बनेगा 175 180 का, नीचे आप 135 का स्टॉप लॉस लगा सकते हैं।
ओके। साथ ही साथ जैसे कि अभी कुछ समय पहले अदानी पावर पर भी चर्चा हुई थी, वो भी आप देखिए बहुत अच्छे वॉल्यूम के साथ आज बढ़ा है। लगभग 4.8 गुना ज़्यादा वॉल्यूम है। 3.8 crore shares have been traded. I am requesting PCR to fire the longer term chart of Adani Power. You will see the stock is reversing from a multi-month low. A multi-month low in the case of Adani Power is wow, it's November of 2023, and in this process it has also made a higher low. The most recent low was on 26th of November, the dip that you see, and then yesterday's low, day before yesterday's low, is a lot higher. So this is also an indication that maybe the worst is behind us after a deep 50% correction. Before we let you go, Raghavendra ji, one STBT BTST idea.
BTST करने के लिए सर जी कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि बाजार थोड़ा मुझे दिख रहा है कि 23,200 23,000 के लेवल को रिस्पेक्ट देगा, तो BTST करने के लिए JSW एनर्जी कर सकते हैं। JSW एनर्जी जो है अभी 562 है, ये स्टॉक यहाँ से मुझे लगता है कि 570 575 तक जा सकता है।
ओके। और कुछ टिप्पणी आप कल्याण ज्वेलर्स पर करना चाहेंगे?
कल्याण ज्वेलर्स देखिए बहुत ही मतलब बुरी तरह पिटाई हुई है। 200 EMA के नीचे बंद हो रहा है आज, तो मुझे लगता है कि कल्याण ज्वेलर्स अगर अब मुझे लग रहा है यहाँ से और एक 10% का फॉल आ सकता है, 500 के आसपास स्टॉक आ सकता है। वो एक लेवल ऐसा होगा जहाँ पे बाई कर सकते हैं, बट फिलहाल अभी जो इसमें देखिए गिरावट भी आई है, काफी अच्छा खासा वॉल्यूम है, ओपन इंटरेस्ट है, तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि ये स्टॉक ऊपरी स्तरों पे सस्टेन होगा। बट मुझे लग रहा है कि हाँ एक बार इसमें पिटाई और हो सकती है, तो अभी इसको अवॉइड करें, या अगर आपको शॉर्ट करना है तो यहाँ से शॉर्ट कर सकते हैं। छोटा सा स्टॉप लॉस 560 का लगाइए, नीचे 530 521 का लेवल आएगा।
चलिए, ये राय कल्याणी ज्वेलर्स पर आती हुई दिख रही है। हम लोग चर्चा कर रहे हैं उन स्टॉक्स की जहाँ पर अच्छा मोमेंटम है। साथ ही साथ मैं एक आपको लिस्ट बताना चाहता हूँ जहाँ पर 52 हफ्ते के लोज लग रहे हैं। नेटवर्क 18 7.6% लोअर 57 रुपीज़। Baggage maker VIP Industries 6.8% lower 401. LG Equipment has shed 1.9% today 525. You have selling pressure in Cello. This is a newly listed maker of utensils. Paint maker Kansai Nerolac and Asian Paints. Who would have thought that you would get Asian Paints at a 52-week low along with Kansai Nerolac? You have 22.28 on Asian Paints. The longer term chart will show you a high of 3,300. The stock, which is one of the most storied wealth creators, has lost 33% of its market cap in less than 3-4 months. two pain points: a new entrant in the paints business, and of course the economic slowdown. Apart from that, SW Solar is also 2.5% lower, higher today, but a fresh 52-week low. Are there any circuits today? Okay. Newly listed Quadrant Future, I'm not sure whether we can show you the stock price or not, but it got listed yesterday. It's up circuit today 20. It was a very smart gainer yesterday as well. So great value being created there. Any other names I'd like to point? No, we'll remain on this one as well. Raghavendra ji, anything that you are observing in the market on its way towards the closure?
शायद जी देखिए 200 की कॉल राइटिंग हो रही है अगर आप ऑप्शन डेटा देखते हैं और
जी
ये
जी मैं
बहुत
देख
बुरी
रहा हूँ।
तरीके से यस ये बहुत ही मतलब मुझे लग रहा है कि कल 200 के ऊपर सस्टेन करना अगर ये शॉर्ट कवरिंग आएगी 200 के ऊपर तो बहुत तेज खींचेगा अगर नहीं आई तो मुझे लगता है कल 23,000 के नीचे भी हम जा सकते हैं क्योंकि 23,000 पे सिमिलरली पुट राइटिंग हो रही है एंड 23,200 पे कॉल राइटिंग हो रही है तो कहीं ना कहीं ऑप्शन ट्रेडर ये एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा है कल की एक्सपायरी इसके बीच में हो सकती है एक तरफ जहां भी आएगा ब्रेकआउट बहुत बड़ा आएगा मुझे लगता है कि कल का दिन होगा जब निफ्टी 400-500 पॉइंट का मूव देगा क्योंकि डेटा वैसा बन रहा है तो देखते हैं होप फॉर द बेस्ट हो सकता है ऊपर की तरफ आ जाए और उम्मीद करते हुए ये ऊपर की तरफ ही आए
जी I'll request the PCR to please fire the Nifty call expiring January 16th for 23,200. Let's see whether we can show that to you on the screen or not. It has just 1 day of time value left in it. Just note down the price. It will be interesting. 23,200 is the battle for tomorrow. आर पार की लड़ाई आपके सामने 23,200 पर कल होगी. देखते हैं क्या है. प्राइस आपको इसलिए गिरा हुआ दिख रहा है क्योंकि जैसे जैसे वीकली एक्सपायरी नज़दीक आती है तो टाइम डिके बहुत होता है ऑप्शन में. इतना ही टाइम डिके आपको लगभग दिखेगा 23,200 की पुट में क्योंकि आज निफ्टी बिल्कुल फ्लैट बंद हो रहा है तो वो जो टाइम है वो आपको हाथ से निकलता हुआ दिखेगा. ऑप्शन से बेहतर कोई जरिया नहीं टाइम डिके सीखने का. देखिए निफ्टी ने आज कुछ नहीं किया 42 अंक ऊपर नीचे रहा और कॉल आधी हो गई पुट भी आधी हो गई. तो अगर आप खिलाड़ी हैं मंझे हुए जैसे कि राघवेंद्र जी हैं तो ऑप्शन राइटिंग में भी बहुत पैसे हैं. रिस्क भी उससे ज़्यादा है.
समय का सही उपयोग सर ये ऑप्शन ही सिखाता है हमको कि कब एग्जिट करना है कब एंट्री करना है प्रीमियम डीके कब होना है नहीं होना है और समय से निकल जाइए. ये सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज है ऑप्शन के लिए.
एक वो कहावत है हिंदी में समय समय की बात है.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल वो एक्सपायरी दिन समझ में आता है.
बिल्कुल
तो हमारे ऑप्शन जीरो हो चुके रहते हैं.
326 राघवेंद्र जी एक ऐसा स्टॉक जो आपके जहन में रहा हो जिसने आज धमाका किया हो और उससे आपकी सोच और सोच बदली हो बाजार के बारे में.
सर देखिए वैसा तो बहुत सारे स्टॉक्स हैं बट एक स्टॉक जो एमसीएक्स है वो दिखा रहा है एमसीएक्स और बीएससी भी दिखा रहा है कि एक्सचेंज पे ट्रेडिंग भी अच्छी हो रही है और एमसीएक्स भी बता रहा है कि एक्सचेंज पे अच्छी ट्रेडिंग हो रही है और ये दोनों स्टॉक ऐसे हैं जब रिवर्सल ले रहे हैं तो मुझे पता नहीं क्यों अंदर से फील हो रहा है कि शायद हो सकता है कि अब बाजार भी यहाँ से रिवर्सल ले ले. तो मेरे लिए एमसीएक्स का चार्ट बहुत अच्छा है. कल का दिन मैं एक दिन और देखूंगा कि कल की क्लोजिंग कहाँ होती है 6,000 के ऊपर होती है कि नहीं होती है तो मेरी बाइंग की होगी यहाँ से राय. बट ये दोनों स्टॉक्स मुझे लग रहा है कि इंडिकेट कर रहे हैं बाजार शायद बॉटम आउट हो रहा है.
कल एमसीएक्स की तरफ से एक रिलीज आया कि उन्होंने रिकॉर्ड टर्नओवर देखा लगभग 5 लाख करोड़ रुपए का. सो उस वजह से एक अच्छा मोमेंटम. साथ ही साथ देखिए बीएसई वो आज सेकंड टॉप ट्रेडेड काउंटर है लगभग 6.6% ऊपर. साथ ही साथ देखिए एंजल वन, देखिए आनंद राठी और देखिए के फिनटेक. ये एक समूह है एक ग्रुप स्टॉक्स का जहाँ पर वापस आपको बाइंग आती हुई दिख रही है भयंकर पिटाई के बाद. आनंद राठी वेल्थ ने 1:1 बोनस भी अनाउंस किया है अपनी अर्निंग्स पर. लेकिन अर्निंग्स एंजल और आनंद राठी दोनों की ज़रा थोड़ी दिक्कत में थी थर्ड क्वार्टर की. बट यहाँ पर भी आपने बहुत बड़ी वेल्थ कमाई है. अगर हमारे पीसीआर में लोग सुन रहे हो तो आनंद राठी का एक लॉन्ग टर्म चार्ट बनाइए. 800 रुपये से ये काउंटर चला है और 4500 तक गया है। ये देखिए, एक साल में 2600 से 4200, ये देखिए 800 रुपये मैंने आपको बताया था। 2 साल में ये काउंटर आपको 4 गुना बढ़ता हुआ दिखा है। और ये अभी एक करेक्टिव प्राइस है, मतलब इंट्राडे हाई इसकी 4500 है, माफ़ कीजिए कुछ समय दिन पहले 4500 है और अब आपके सामने 4000। राघवेंद्र जी,
यस सर।
अब क्या करना पड़ेगा कि कल जो वीकली एक्सपायरी हो उसमें 23,200 की तरफ कदम उठाए जाएं, ऊपर उसके शॉर्ट कवरिंग के लिए क्या कीजिएगा, कौन सी पूजा बिठवाएं? कुंभ चल रहा है।
हम भी चाहते हैं सर, अगले हफ्ते मैं भी कुंभ जा रहा हूँ, इसीलिए कि शायद वहां से भगवान सुन ले और बाजार को अब कुंभ का ही सहारा रह गया है। तो मुझे लगता है कि सारे इन्वेस्टर के साथ साथ, देखिए कुंभ की छुट्टी के साथ साथ ना एक स्टॉक मार्केट की भी छुट्टी एक हफ्ते की कर देनी चाहिए। जो इन्वेस्टर है वो, बाजार अगर बंद रहेगा तो कम से कम मेरा वेल्थ तो डाउन नहीं होगा, जाकर कम से कम कुंभ में सब लोग नहा के आए, क्योंकि पिछले 4 महीने में बाजार ने हमें चारों धाम की यात्रा करा दी है। तो मेरे हिसाब से अब समय आ गया कि कुंभ में नहा करके बाजार को भी यहाँ से ऊपर लेके जाया जाए। कोशिश यही है सर, हम भी यही भगवान से प्रार्थना कर रहे हैं कि बाजार ऊपर जाए लेकर के यहाँ से।
यूं देखिए राघवेंद्र जी, कुंभ जाइए जरूर, लेकिन वहां रह मत जाइएगा, मतलब संन्यास लेने की जरूरत नहीं है। मैंने ऐसे बहुत करेक्शन देखे हैं, ये भी होता है बाजार में, चिंता मत कीजिए।
बिल्कुल 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 सर, कुंभ से लाइव हम लोग जो हमारे दर्शक है उनको बताएंगे कि क्या स्टॉक ले सकते हैं, वहां से भी कोशिश यही रहेगी।
चलिए, थैंक यू फॉर योर वंडरफुल कॉन्वर्सेशन राघवेंद्र, वेरी काइंड ऑफ यू टू जॉइन अस।
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the close for the market. The Nifty 51 points higher, second successive day of gains. This is really, really important against the backdrop of very, very heavy selling that we saw in the previous 7 sessions before yesterday. The IT index is up 362 points. This is again heartening, but what is really, really good is the fact that the risk on trade is back and back with a bang. The overall advance decline ratio is 1:1, 1236 stocks in the green, 1142 in the red. We track 19 indices for you. Out of 19, 15 are in the green, read by the Realty index. There is heavy buying that's happened in Nifty Next 50, Nifty Mid Cap Select, Small Cap and Mid Cap indices. These were the ones that were thrashed black and blue. Apart from that, the entire Adani group, which was once the flag bearer of risk on and a trader friendly stock set, is back in action, as are also other high beta, high frequently traded counters such as exchanges, BSE and NSE, and many stocks. Let's hope that we've seen the worst behind us in terms of selling, and tomorrow, which is also the weekly expiry of the Nifty, will bring in a very strong bout of short covering that will propel the bulls to come out of their hibernation. Will that be a dead cat bounce? Only time will tell, but please do join us on Business Today Television tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Have a nice evening.
The assembly elections in Delhi have created huge tremors within the opposition alliance. Aam Aadmi Party and Congress are raining fire and fury at each other